Hello and welcome to another Rome Total War battle. So this is a Roman Civil War battle, Juli versus Bruti. I'm commanding the Juli, and I have, well, let's start with the artillery. So I have 2 onagers, and I have 3 ballistas. I'm not a huge fan of the repeating ballistas, but I'll get onto that in a moment. I also have 4 Praetorian cav, so we can see them over here, and Roman armies, all of them bring them, so I figured with my opponent he was certainly going to bring them, so I'm just planning on using these as more of a counter. But we'll see how that plays out in a moment. I also have 8 urban cohorts. What I'm going to do is put 5 of them over here, and 3 over here, just hiding in the forest. I didn't really choose to do that, it was just sort of the grouping system on the keyboard when you're in Rome, and it wouldn't let me put them sort of in front of the artillery, so that's what I've done. I've also brought 3 auxilia, and these are spear-armed troops. They're sort of between the town guard and the triarii. I'm hoping they'll give me some mobility and flexibility in dealing with the enemy cav. Possibly later on in the game they'll have some other significant purpose. So also my general is in an urban cohort over here, which we can see. Well, I'm also going to use these auxilia to try and guard the artillery early on, because there is a threat that my enemy will attack the artillery, as I don't have any archers. So we'll see how this plays out. So my enemy over here and opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 legionary first cohort. I think he was actually experimenting to see whether the morale bonus would give him more attack or allow his troops to stay in the fight longer. He has 2 of these repeating ballistas. I'm not a fan of these, and just to say, they're not automatic and they only fire as fast as they're reloaded, so sometimes they seem a bit sort of off. They don't seem to work as well. He's also brought these heavy onagers, and again I don't agree with this choice at all. These are more for sort of knocking down walls and targets that don't move. They're going to be very poor at close range, so my tactic at this point was to try and get in as quickly as possible, because I knew these were going to cause a massive artillery bombardment. Behind that he's got 4 Praetorian cavs, so we're matched in terms of cav strength, and he's also got 2 urban cohorts here. So in terms of infantry power, he's probably got a little bit more, because he has the legionary first cohort, and he's got, I think it was 7 of those. In fact, yeah, you can see they're in legionary cohort in about a U shape here. The urban cohort, there's only 2 of those, but there's still a significant amount of infantry for me to get through. And so my tactic was going to be to just sort of bomb this area of his army and focus my attack on his left flank, and thereby try and stay out of the artillery fire and cause as much damage as possible to his infantry. So in a moment my ballistas are going to open fire, but they're getting shelled pretty heavily here, so they are going to lose quite a few men in the process. See there goes 1. I'm going to lose pretty much 2/3 of my ballistas, so I'll only have 1 full unit left. I don't know why he didn't target this one for any reason. I think he just decided to go after my troops at the end. So you can see my auxilia are moving up. He's targeting those for some reason, and it turned out later that he actually thought they were light auxilia, who are javelin throwing infantry. So he probably thought I brought those to deal with his cav, but the truth is that they're more there to guard the onagers at the moment, so I don't mind him hitting them. I've also put them in loose formation. He's going to do the same with his infantry in a moment. So we're going to have a little sort of artillery bombardment, but at some point I'm going to realise that to win the battle I've got to charge up the hill. Which isn't what I want to do, but I'm going to be forced into it. So you can see we're exchanging quite a bit of artillery fire here. I'm sort of more going for his main line than his onagers. And I don't want to have my onagers firing on his, because then I might lose them if he starts firing on them. So you can see his ballistas have also taken some damage here. His legionary first cohort are taking various amounts of damage, so he's lost 20 infantry there. He's losing quite a bit here as he moves up. You can see he's losing a bit more there. So I've deployed 3 of my urban cohort here, and their goal is to try and get round the flank. So they're going to come up here and just try and get onto the flank. These ones are going to engage the main line, and then the artillery is going to focus over here where he's got quite a few first cohorts. But he's also pulling over to his left flank as well, but not as much as I am. See, I've already got round. So if I need to, I can engage on the flank with that one can come straight up. And then that leaves one to sort of get into his cab and engage the Serbian cohorts here. I've also bunched up a number of my urban cohort here, so they're just going to charge in straight here. Meanwhile, on this flank, you can see I'm already engaging on the front, so I'm bringing this one onto the side, which is being protected by this one. Here. He's bringing his cab onto the front, or onto the flank here, and I'm going to bring my Praetorians in as well. Over on this flank, I'm actually going to try and run up the hill and get a downhill charge on him. So he does spot this at the last moment and charges. So my cab is going to engage there. And then I could engage that cavalry unit there, but what I'm going to do is pull this unit back around and go into the back of this cab unit to ensure its demise. Over here you can see he's brought this urban up here, and this is quite good tactically. So they are facing towards my cab, so he's obviously expecting counter-strike. But this has allowed this Praetorian cab to come in and finish off the repeating ballista. And that is quite key to the battle, because the repeating ballistas can fire at close range, whereas you can see the onager crews, at the moment they're fighting, they can't actually engage. But meanwhile you can see his front line over here. This part is slowly being destroyed because my infantry have managed to get in to destroy it. He does charge his Praetorian cav down after my Praetorian cav. And this means he gets them engaged with his auxiliary infantry, which is sort of what I want him to do. As there are spear-armed units. So it is important to look over the enemy army before you engage, just to see what they have. I think if he had done, he would have realised that those were spear infantry. So over here he's actually used his general's cav to engage on this flank. And that's basically driven off my assault there. So I'm sort of starting to turn into a bit of a U-shape here. I have managed to do very well on this flank. I've routed his cav. I've brought my cav into the back of his infantry that was wavering. And that's going to finish them off there. So that means this unit here is going to be destroyed shortly. However, I do have to contend with this unit of urbans. And he also has a Praetorian cav unit coming back here. But I'm going to bring these auxiliary infantry up, and hopefully that's going to just sort of stop and delay any attack. Meanwhile, he has still got this repeating ballista here, and that's opening fire on my unit, so I obviously need to get rid of that. I've got a cav unit at the top of the hill, and I'm going to use that in a moment to engage all the artillery that he has. Although I should have just gone straight for the repeating ballista, so I do lose quite a few men in the meantime. You can see the Praetorian cav are coming in, and they're actually forcing the battle to go their way. So what was a win suddenly turns into a loss as the Praetorian cav come in. But over on this flank, I think that's the same thing that's happening here. You can see their Praetorian cav are leading the fight. Most of my auxiliary infantry at this point is gone. They were just sort of quite weak, and they didn't have that much of a bonus against the cav, so that was a bit of a problem. But you can see my artillery is still managing to open fire into his Praetorians. That is having a significant effect on this flank here. My Praetorian cav now come in on this battle here, so what was going well here for him isn't. My artillery is also opening fire, and I still have 2 onagers and the ballista, so that's going to go my way. Again, over here I'm sort of using artillery and opening fire on his repeating ballista. I'm going to bring this Praetorian cav in now, just to finish off that ballista. Over here he is going to win this fight. He's just got sheer force. This urban cohort came in earlier and just sort of won the fight. So that's going to leave this blob over here, which is all the infantry that sort of collected from the middle and came on to help this flank. So we see now I've managed to get the Praetorian cav into the back, but he's opening fire with his javelins. So that's going to cause a bit of damage, but at the same time it provides a target for my artillery. So he's going to charge them in. He's also lost his general by now, so that's quite good. You can see the general routing to the right in the distance, so that will have a morale effect on him. So now this is just going to turn into a close fight, and you can see there's not many troops left of his. I still have my general's units, and it's still going well for me. I've still got the Praetorian cav sort of doing some damage, and I've also got the artillery crews. So you can see I've sent up this onager cruise now coming up, but we're actually nearing the end of the battle. His men have lost their general, they've lost a lot of units. You can see there, I think that's that ballista, or is it the onager? Either way, I've just stopped firing and managed to just about wipe out his force. So what worked in my favour here was the fact that he brought the heavy onagers, because up close they couldn't really do anything. Although I did sort of focus on them with the Praetorian cav when I should have been more concerned with the repeating ballistas. The spearmen sort of did help take out his cavalry, although I think a lot of it is down to the ballista that I had left and the onagers. So again, the fact that I was able to attack him works out very well, because it meant that I had the advantage. I was able to neutralise the threat of his artillery simply by engaging his front line. Had his artillery been set much further back, like up the top of this hill that you can see in the background, I think this could have gone differently. But it's just a matter of how you do things, and sometimes small things that happen, or like units, can be more useful later in the battle, I should say. So these heavy onagers would have been more useful not opening fire at the start, but maybe at the top, because I was able to avoid a lot of their fire, and he did concentrate on my ballistas and the auxiliary infantry, which weren't, they were just there for the cav and to defend the artillery, so they didn't matter too much. And if he hadn't become too bogged down in my line, or with my fight, it probably would have gone differently. The other thing is that he did bring a lot of the first cohorts rather than urbans, and urbans have a higher attack, so had he not used his Praetorians in the line engagements, it probably would have slung my way quite quickly. And if he had brought urbans, he might have been able to use his cav to attack my artillery positions, And with the auxiliary infantry, I'm not sure I would have been able to defend the artillery. So, probably the fact that he had weaker infantry is one of the biggest factors. The fact that his artillery was so close to his front line, again, is another factor, because it wasn't able to do as much damage. So again, I did have an attacking advantage. I also had a infantry strength advantage there, which played in beautifully. In terms of cav, I don't really think that played as much of a role. The Praetorian cav that I had did do very well, but overall so did his, and he was able to use them decisively in some engagements. We noticed how the end of the right flank collapsed early on, and on the left he was able to use his cav to sort of shore up and destroy the remnants of my urbans over there. So again, the Praetorians had some effect, but in the end it was just down to infantry strength and the fact that I had artillery left to open fire. Anyway, thank you for watching. Illuminati signing out.